I'd like to know who mentored you and how that happened.
Yeah, it's a good question. So
Thank you.
It's a great question. I've had a number of mentors, and it depends. So I would say, my dad has been a very technical person my whole life, and so he definitely mentored me when I was a small kid on two things. So one is just how to, like I said earlier, how to be handy and how to fix things. And when you think about being a problem solver, I learned sort of if it's broken, that it's possible to be fixed, and every problem has a solution. From my dad at a young age, and obviously I try and do the same to my kids. And then work ethic. My dad was on call typically 1 or 2 weeks a month, and he's the guy that would 2:00 in the morning, someone's furnace breaks, he'd go out and fix it, come home at 4:30, and he'd still be back up at 6:30 the next morning to go to work. He didn't call in sick, and he was the guy that you literally could cut his arm off and he'd be gluing it back on, trying to finish the job he was doing before he went off to the hospital. He never cut his arm off, but he had a couple accidents, and he just kept working at it until it's done. And he instilled in me that you get the job done, and
The work ethic.
no matter what it is. And so again, I try and do the same thing for my kids, but it's crucial. So that would be my first mentor for sure. Then there's a number of guys. When I went to Manitoba Tel, I was young, so 23 years old, 22 years old, and our staff base were, I say older. In my perspective, they're older. They're all sort of 35 to 55. But at that time, when you're 23, everybody seems older than you. And they really taught me a lot about life. I moved away from my house, my family. All I'd really known was this area. Mm-hmm. In fact, the first time I was on an airplane was when I flew it for a job interview. So it's my first airplane, first major job interview, and so obviously they taught a lot. They spent a lot of time mentoring me, and I remember my first time away for Thanksgiving from my family. One of the guys invited me over to their house to have Thanksgiving. So they were a great group. Yeah, they also taught me how to understand when people are away. I think sometimes you do need to move away from where you come from for a little while. I remember a gentleman telling me when I was about to move away, and he said, you'll be back. I'm like, no, I'm not. There's no way I'm going to be back. I'm going off to this, high-tech executive job with a major telecom provider, but it was an individual had gone away and come back himself. But
no place like home.
No place like home. And this city definitely brings you back for sure. And yeah.